Molybdenum is an essential element, 42 elements that contain this element. However, collectors are familiar with wolfenite and maybe malignite, but this other one is a little different. But the wolfenite and malignanite, as you see here in this picture, this beautiful specimen here, this is a lead mineral, wolfenite, and also lead malignate is the most collectible molybdenum-bearing mineral that is housed in a museum here. Quite beautiful. This crystallizes in the tetragonal system as thin tabs, and the bright orange color that we see. Here's some more right down here. If you look in the middle of the page, you'll see the bright orange. The malignanite is the ore of molybdenum. It crystallizes in hexagonal systems as opaque, distorted tabs, dark bluish gray masses with metallic luster and telltale greasy feel. You can see here's a sample of that. Much less familiar than molybdenum itself, which does not occur freely in nature. Pure molybdenum is rare if ever seen in its metallic state. Nevertheless, this is an important industrial metal with a very interesting history. People didn't know what it was. Malignanite had a dark color, a metallic luster, greasy feel. It was often confused with graphite and galena. The Greeks called both lead and galena maligdos, the word, and molybdenum. Both similar minerals and metals. Even as late as the 15th century, these enlightened those who were enlightened in mining of the time referred to both as graphite and galena as molybdenum. Now, it wasn't until the 1700s that chemists finally distinguished graphite, galena, and molybdenite. Then in 1778, a Swedish chemist showed that molybdenite was the sulfide of an unknown metallic element, formerly called molybdenum. 4 years later, another colleague isolated the element molybdenum as a heavy dark powder that could be fused to a cohesive mass for a study of metal. At that time, molybdenum, which was assumed to be rare, was a laboratory curiosity, not of much value. However, confusion about molybdenum and malignite lingered. Even after a prospector in 1879 discovered enormous malignite deposit at Climax, Colorado 15 years before. But the mystery was about to be figured out. The French and German metallurgists began unraveling the mysteries during the early 1900s. They found out that this silver gray metal had a density as much as lead, but it was less common. The properties that were different was the melting point. The melting point of this molybdenum was 4,730 degrees, which is 2,000 degrees higher than most steels. So this gave it an ability and a toughness and durability that was very desirable for steel. You can see a very pure sample here in the middle of your page. When World War I erupted in 1914, Germany had this arsenal of the superior weaponry and armor. The British analyzed it, and it found that the new German steels were alloyed with molybdenum, obtainable from a single small deposit in Kanben, Norway. Backed by soaring wartime demand for molybdenum and as an alloyed metal, miners rushed to Colorado to develop the Climax mine in 1917. The greatest molybdenite deposit ever discovered, Climax has since yielded over 1 million metric tons of molybdenum and is still producing today. In fact, I know where some shows up in Arizona, Kingman, Arizona, with copper and other minerals. Copper mining connection. Because copper and molybdenum share the mineralogical affinity, many copper sulfite ores contain small amounts of molybdenite. In the 70s, the rising molybdenum prices led to the installation of molybdenite recovery circuits in the concentrators of the open pit copper mines of the United States, Mexico, Peru, and Chile. Today, most of the 235,000 metric tons of molybdenum mined worldwide each year recovered as a byproduct of copper mining. China is the leading producer, followed by Chile, the United States, Peru, and then Mexico. Molybdenum is one of the first metals which the United States was self-sufficient. So that's cool. Goes for about $8 a pound. And is allied with steel to increase durability, toughness, wear, corrosion resistance, and overall strength. Although molybdenum does not harden steel per se, it enhances its ability to accept the hardening qualities of tungsten, manganese, and other alloy metals. Molybdenum compounds serve as pigments, lubricants, catalysts, and are becoming increasingly important in green technologies, notably in the manufacture of solar panels, turbines, biofuels. So if you look at some beautiful specimens of wolfenite that have some molybdenite, it's something to think about, huh? This article was originally written by Steve Wojtnik. Again, you can subscribe to their email at Rock and Jim, and I highly recommend that you do. Now, Halloween is there. Don't get any poisonous candy. Arsenic is the king of poison, our friends at Rock and Jim tell us here. Arsenic has been used throughout history to kill people, to dispose of one another. Following the medieval times all the way to the 1800s, people have been poisoned. It's called the inheritance powder because it was used a lot by heirs to accelerate the demise of family members. Man, money causes greed. There's more arsenic. There's more to the arsenic than the sinister image. Specimens of arsenic in two most familiar minerals can be found as well. Beauty and bright colors. In a powdered form, these same minerals have been used in medicine as pigments in celebrated paintings and many of the European masters. So please don't lick the paintings. Don't eat the paint. Could be very bad. The metals and its minerals. The element arsenic is a dark gray, brittle, and poor conductor of electricity. It is a semi-metal that exhibits both metallic and non-metallic properties, ranking 55 or 55th place in the crustal abundance. It is about as common as tin. Although occasionally found free in nature, the most arsenic is in the component of more than 250 minerals, the most abundant being arsenopyrite and iron arsenic sulfite, which forms opaque prismatic crystals with steel gray color and metallic luster. Next in abundance are red rilger and yellow-orange opiumite. These both are arsenic sulfites that crystallize in the monoclinic system, occur in close association, and share similar properties. These have been used in medicine and art. From 3000 BCE, the Chinese were using these pigments and using them to make bronze-like copper alloys. They were aware of the toxicity, but they learned that arsenic also had therapeutic value when administered in small doses. By 1400 BCE, this was a pharmaceutical medicine used to treat a variety of ailments. Drinking rice wine mixed with finely powdered rilgar, or this arsenic residue, served as a paint to decorate child's faces, a practice that survives today in parts of rural China. Sounds pretty dangerous. I don't think I'd want to do that. Yeah, it goes on and on. Arsenic is the king of poison. Legendary toxicity because of the chemical affinity to porous, an element vital to all animal and plant life, cellular metabolism. Arsenic readily substitutes for phosphorus in cellular components, and even tiny amounts can disrupt metabolism. In an adult human, the lethal dose of the most inorganic arsenic compounds is about 1/3 of a gram, or the volume of the size of a grain of rice. Yike. There you can see a crystal at the top of the page, an iron arsenic sulfite, the most abundant arsenic-bearing mineral, typically forms opaque prismatic crystals with steel gray color. This is why you don't want to grind up your iron pyrite in case it has this in it. Could be very bad. White arsenic was the ideal poison. It looks like sugar. Just mix it in a little sugar. Tasteless, odorless, lethal in just several days until relatively recently undetectable in tissue of the deceased, and the systems of arsenic poisoning mimic those of cholera, an extremely common affliction in centuries past. Arsenic used as a poison was first documented in Greece in 4th century BCE. Historians believe Roman Emperor Nero used arsenic to eliminate his 13-year-old stepbrother and potential rival. So bad, very bad. It can be mixed with honey and other edibles, and was used for rat poisons throughout Europe. Arsenic today, 1836, the British chemist developed a method to detect minute traces of arsenic in poisoning victims, opening the door to modern forensic toxicity. The courts accepted the Marsh test results as evidence in murder cases. The frequency of arsenic poisons declined noticeably. And everybody quit mining it, right? Or maybe not. Yeah. There are murder mysteries designed on use of arsenic. Despite current governmental restrictions of the use and exposure to arsenic, the king of poisons remains an important industrial commodity. Arsenic is no longer mined but attained by a byproduct of base metal smelting. Some 51,000 tons of arsenic trioxide are produced worldwide each year, used for wood preservation and pesticides. Ancient Chinese physicians would perhaps be pleased to know while arsenic is known as a carcinogen, it is somewhat approved for use in the United States to treat certain types of cancer. Pretty cool. Collecting can be safe. Follow precautions. Always wash your hands. Probably wear gloves. Don't ingest particles. Don't ingest that. Don't inhale dust. Store out of reach of children. Label it that it's poison, it's arsenic. Be very careful if you do decide to collect something like that. That is super dangerous. Zircon. Okay, Old Earth Minerals, they send me emails. I don't know anything about them. I've never bought anything from them, but they have some pretty cool pictures of the zircon crystal with fluorescent apatite inclusions on a biotite matrix from the Astor Valley in Pakistan. And I thought you might enjoy looking at some of these pictures. It iridescence a beautiful purple with kind of a pinkish red, and then this zircon crystal on the top is the golden, kind of orange golden with yellow veins, and it's quite beautiful. When it is not under a fluorescent, it looks like a ruby sticking out of this black matrix with some white splotches in it, and that is the biotite matrix with inclusions. But it is really cool when it is lit up. It is kind of a triangle triangle bar, I guess, elongated triangle. Pretty cool stuff. Here's a zircon crystal with fluorescent apatite inclusions on a biotite matrix from the Astor Valley, Pakistan, with a little bit different shape and coloration here. Pretty cool place. If you want to go check this out, it's oldearthminerals.com. And yeah, the matrix on that is pretty cool. It's got a white vein through the middle with the black. And there is some pretty good fluorescing on this. I don't know if they're using a long wave or a short wave, but pretty cool. So it looks yellow under the fluorescent light, and it looks ruby red under the regular light. Now these samples are going for like $165 on up. Looks like they are small, but you can kind of see the guy's or lady's finger holding it there. So yeah, you could pinch this between your thumb and your finger here and actually view it, enjoy the beauty. Here's another one. Quite a nice stone. Quite a nice stone. Nice to add to collection. I guess if I were spending some money on rocks right now, that would be one to add. I want to thank you all for liking and subscribing. I have something special to show you here before we conclude this episode. You can email me at, let's try radicalrocksusa@gmail.com. If you email me, I will send you this almost 50-page article on identifying minerals and mineral names. Oh, what a pain. That just killed my podcast right there, darn it. So I will email you this if you want. Please like and subscribe again. Well, I'll give you just a sample of it here. You cannot copy it. You cannot sell it. It is a protected document. It's for educational purposes only. It's for your individual use only. So, and it will state that on this document, but for your own use, for you and your kids or your grandkids, you could print this out, or you could just keep a copy on your computer. Really nice. See, we have arsenic that we talked about right there. There's a whole little spew on arsenic. It says it was originally the name applied to arsenic sulfite compound because of their obviously powerful properties. Specifically, and when ingested, they cause severe illness, even death. The ancients called this substance arsenic, from the Greek word arsen, which means male, manly, vigorous, or strong, because they believed that this substance was male in gender since it was strong, that it was deadly. That was based on the sexist assumption that men are stronger than women. The name was applied to the mineral native arsenic by Frederick A. Bethapeth, however you say that. The sexist assumption that men are stronger than women. Like that's not generally true. Funny. Aquamarine, beryl, beautiful to light blue to bluish green variety of beryl. The name was derived from the Latin phrase aqua marina, meaning seawater, to its reference to its color. So you can just see there's all kinds of rocks and minerals in here that you could learn details about the people who named them, where the name came from, a little bit about the mineral, and it's free. I mean, no strings attached. I don't bombard people with spams or anything like that. So if this is something you want, I can send that to you, and I would be glad to do so if that is something you're interested. Again, just email me at radicalrocksusa@gmail.com. And with that, I am going to conclude this episode. And remember, rockhounds don't die, we petrify.